It's time to get ready for Christmas. Come on in. This video is sponsored by Apron Diva. Pretty and practical, we believe that an apron can be a homemaker's best accessory. This has been one of those days. I've been really busy. We've been out and about doing a little bit of shopping. I had a few appointments. And I've just not taken care of the things at home here in the house that I normally would. So now it's time to make dinner, but I've got to get the kitchen cleaned up first. There's not a lot in the sink, but there is enough that I need to take care of that. And I also didn't get the dishwasher unloaded this morning before we got our day started. So let's get into it. Now that I've got the kitchen cleaned up, I'm going to start making dinner. And I'm going to make a creamy chicken and spinach lasagna. So I'm going to need 12 dry lasagna noodles, and I'm going to bring a pot of water to boil, and then once it comes to boil, I'm going to add a tablespoon of olive oil and 1 teaspoon of salt. And in case you're wondering, the olive oil is just to kind of help keep the lasagna noodles from sticking together, and the teaspoon of salt salts the water, and it will imbibe a little bit of salt to the lasagna, but not very much. This is your only opportunity to salt them. And while the lasagna is cooking, and I'm just going to let it cook until it's al dente or chewy but still firm, then I'm going to make my creamy spinach white sauce. For the white sauce, I'm going to need 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 cup of onion finely chopped, and for my young homemakers, 1 cup of chopped onion is about 1 medium-sized onion. The rest of this onion I'll set aside for another meal. And this creamy chicken lasagna is an easy make-ahead meal. Not only can you make it ahead, but you can also freeze it. 1 tablespoon of garlic minced, and a tablespoon of garlic is about 3 cloves. I like to press down on the garlic with the knife. That just kind of helps to get the skin loosened up, and then you can just peel it right off. This cutting board is certainly much nicer than that other one that I use so often. It doesn't spin around at all. So now I'm going to put my olive oil in a pan and saute up my onions and my garlic until they are fragrant. My oil is hot. Here's my cup of onion and my 2 tablespoons of garlic. So we'll get that sauteed now until they are fragrant. 1 cup of chicken broth. 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. I'm going to turn the heat down. And we'll whisk that in until the lumps are gone. Okay, now that that's started to thicken, let's add our 2 cups of heavy cream. Here's 2. Now I'm going to bring that to a simmer. The 2 tablespoons of flour is what's going to provide the thickening. If you don't have flour, you can always use cornstarch. They're pretty much interchangeable when you're using them for a thickening agent. I think the cornstarch sometimes thickens it up pretty nicely, but you don't get the clumping like you do sometimes with flour. I just wanted it to thicken until it was like gravy, and that's a good consistency right there. And if you're not sure, when you put a spoon in it, you can see that it coated the back of the spoon. That's a good way to tell. So now let's add our spinach, our 2 cups of spinach. And now I'm going to just set this aside. To make the cheese mixture, I'm going to need 2 cups of ricotta cheese. And if you don't have ricotta cheese, you can use cottage cheese. 1 egg beaten, 2 cups of mozzarella cheese, shredded, and I'm going to divide it into 2 different parts. 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese grated, and 1/4 cup of fresh parsley. And I'm going to mix this all together. And next I will shred up my chicken. I'm going to set this half aside. I'm going to use about 1 pound or 3 cups of shredded chicken. Now this chicken is coming from a rotisserie chicken that I had purchased earlier. So to my young homemakers out there, this is a perfect way to use up your rotisserie chicken. If you're only going to use half of it, and maybe you serve it with some other kind of veggies the first time you make it, the second time you use that rotisserie chicken, shred it off the bone and use it to make this creamy spinach lasagna or a similar dish. Now I've set my oven to preheat, and that's the noise you hear in the background. By the time I've got all of this done, the lasagna should be ready to get out of the pot and into a dish. Drain the noodles and then give them a good rinse in cold water. Rinsing the noodles stops the cooking time. So I'm going to spread about a half a cup of the sauce in the bottom of a 9x13 baking pan, and then I'm going to place 3 strips of my lasagna noodles evenly apart over the sauce. And then I'm going to spread about a third of that sauce evenly over the noodles and sprinkle about half of that chicken over the sauce. And then I'm going to spread about a quarter of the ricotta cheese mixture on top. Then I'm going to add another layer of the 3 lasagna noodles, spread more ricotta cheese on top of that, another layer of lasagna noodles, spread more sauce, and then sprinkle the remaining chicken on top of the sauce evenly, and then the remaining ricotta cheese on top of all of that. And then I'll add another layer of the lasagna noodles with the remaining 1/3 cup of sauce on top, and I'm going to top that off with my last little bit of mozzarella cheese. And then I'm going to lightly grease a large piece of aluminum foil and cover that pan with the grease part of the foil on the inside. That way, as the lasagna starts to cook and bubble and the cheese starts to melt, the grease on the aluminum foil will keep the melted cheese from sticking to the top of that foil. Butter it side down. Now it'll go in the oven like this for 45 minutes, and then once it's cooked for 45 minutes, I'll take the foil off and pop it back in for about another 15 minutes. After 45 minutes, I'm going to remove the foil and then bake it uncovered for about another 20 minutes. And that's just going to be until the melted cheese turns golden brown and it's just bubbly good all over. Oh, this looks amazing. You can turn the broiler on high and broil it for about 3 or 4 minutes just to get a good crispy brown cheesy crust on top of that. But if you do decide to do that, you want to keep a close eye, as broilers can tend to burn things up quickly, and I have been known to burn a thing or two in the broiler. And it smells even better than it looks. Now I'm going to have to let it sit for about 20 minutes so that it can cool before I can cut into it. So for my young moms out there, this is a perfect way to use up that leftover rotisserie chicken, or you can just buy the rotisserie chicken, shred it up, and make this delicious, creamy chicken and spinach lasagna. Too bad we don't have smell-o-vision. Okay, let's give this a taste. And we'll use one of my little Christmas plates. It looks nice and golden brown and all cheesy and bubbly. My husband can't wait to get over here and get a little piece of it. That looks pretty darn good. Nice and cheesy. It's pretty good.
It is good.
So once we get done with dinner, I've got some gifts that I need to wrap, so I'll get started on that in just a little bit. But to see more Christmas inspiration, click here. In the meantime, this is Denise Jordan saying you are not done yet. Click on the link in the comment section below and check out another of my homemaking stories, and I will see you next time. Visit us at www.aprondiva.com.